let's get some nice peaceful music going. There we go. Alright, so next in the series of Commander Duels, we have Azami, Lady of Scrolls, versus Wort, Boggart, Auntie. So two tribal decks, we have Wizards versus Goblins. And these are both two very fast decks. Fast in different ways. Wort is going to try and power through 40 points of damage as quickly as possible with Goblins. And Azami is going to try and combo off as quickly as possible, using Wizards to draw a ton of cards. So I think Azami has kind of a bad rap. People think she's kind of one of those douchebag mono blue generals who, you know, just takes a bunch of extra turns, combos off, and kills everyone. And she is. Lightning Greaves for Peter. Pretty crucial card in aggressive deck because Shroud stops removal, and haste is always important. Not much going on for the first few turns, but it'll probably pick up. There's Warren Instigator for Peter, and this is a very, very dangerous card. Luckily, Matthew has the Fairy Trickery for it. Warren Instigator can give you a huge tempo advantage, dropping 2 goblins into play. If you have any sort of equipments in your deck, like Peter has all the swords, and the double strike is incredible. Goblin Vandal is another really good one-drop goblin. Lots of people run Soul Rings and stuff, and he can destroy those. There's a Riptide Lab, very good land in a Tribal Wizard deck. Peter brings out Wort. She's not crucial to the success of this deck. She's not a very aggressive creature, but she does give the deck some much needed resiliency. Mono Red isn't known for its recursion, so adding black to this Goblin Tribal lets the deck survive a bit longer. So Venzer comes out in response to the Lightning Greaves equip to send Wort back to Peter's hand. Reliquary Tower, the most important land for Azami, because it draws lots of cards and doesn't want to discard them. And basically, if Azami stays out for more than a turn, then Matthew's probably won, because the card advantage is just so hard for Peter to overcome. So Peter's going to want to deal with Azami ASAP, otherwise he's just going to fall way too far behind. And he shouldn't be afraid to tap that Ancient Tomb, because Matthew's not going to win with combat damage, so the pain isn't going to matter much. And Duplicant, that's an answer for Azami, so Matthew will tap in response to get a couple cards, but Azami will go back to the general zone. So like I said, black really adds a lot to this Goblin Tribal. The tutors are very strong, but also stuff like Living Death and Patriarch's Bidding and some nice spot removal. And those are all snow-covered islands for Matthew. He has a few ways to take advantage of those. Plus they're just fun. Patron Wizard. Oh, I love Patron Wizard. This is one of my favorite cards of all time, actually. I played the Tribal Wizard deck before Tribal Wizard was even a thing. Like, when they printed this, I built the 3-color Wizard deck with Meddling Mage and Shadow Mage Infiltrator, and just trolled people with Wizards. However, Ether Vial is one way to get past Patron Wizard, because that card can sneak Goblins into play without letting them get countered. And Dimir Houseguard, that's another uncounterable ability there, the Transmute. Getting Mogcatcher, because he knows he's going to have to put cards into play without actually casting them, and Mogcatcher will help him do that. End of turn Snapcaster Mage. Not doing anything cool, just a 2-1 dork. Azami needs as many wizard dorks as she can get. There's Magus of the Future, one of those bomb wizards. He can provide some pretty nasty card advantage. So Matthew's already got 4 wizards in play for the Patron Wizard. Here's number 5, Martyr Frost, so Peter's gonna have a hard time resolving anything at this point. Patron Wizard can really just win games all on its own. Oh, I love Patron Wizard. It's one of my favorite griefer cards, aside from Mistfell Plains. That's sort of the namesake of my YouTube channel, I guess. Back when I played actual Standard, I built the 2 Scoops deck in Lorwyn Alara Standard. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, they'll know that that was a deck that made Mistfell Plains the win condition. One of the most griefer decks of all time. Now we've got Urte, Martyr Frost, Patron Wizard. Basically, Peter's not going to resolve any more spells this game. So I think he's playing Game Boy at this point, and Matthew's just sort of, playing by himself. Peter passes his turn because he can't do anything. Matthew draws a bunch of cards off Azami. He's got to reveal them all because of Megas of the Future. I have to play with the top card of my deck revealed. Soul Ring makes its first appearance. That's Gauntlet of Power. Awesome in any monocolored deck. In this deck it's also a combo piece with Palinchron, this guy here. So the double mana from Gauntlet of Power, the untap from Palinchron, and his bounce ability, that's infinite mana right there. So Matthew has infinite mana, tons of wizards out, ways to counter spells, and a time stretch. That's just about game over, but let's draw some more cards just for fun. Oh, Palinchron's not a wizard. I mean, this is fun for the Azami player. Really. And Intruder Alarm is going to let Matthew untap all of his wizards. Another wizard, infinite mana. He's going to be able to draw his deck with Intruder Alarm. Peter just scoops at this point. So that's game one in the books. Like I said, Azami only needs to stay in play for one turn to generate the card advantage she needs to win. When you're drawing 6 or 7 extra cards a turn, it's only so long before you hit your combo pieces and end the game quickly. Peter actually screws up here. He drops the Verdant Catacombs. He was hoping to get a red source with the Verdant Catacomb, but he happened to have his 2 Swamp Mountain cards in his hand. So the Badlands and Blood Crypts were already in his hand, and he wasn't able to drop this Goblin Lackey first turn. He has to wait for a turn 2. And that's actually one of the deadliest 1-drops in this format, if you can believe it. For a Tribal Goblin deck, obviously, it's almost as dangerous as Soul Ring, because you get such a huge tempo advantage off of it, and your opponent probably doesn't have a blocker yet. So in comes Goblin Lackey. He's going to drop Goblin Wizard into play. Lackey and Wizard are really important because they can get goblins in past counter spells. Goblin War Chief comes into play. The Wizard now has haste, and he can drop another Goblin into play. Keep in mind, this all should have happened a turn sooner if Peter hadn't screwed up that first turn land drop. So that's a pretty quick start for Goblins, and it's not out of the ordinary. This is what the Goblin deck does. Temporal Adept is pretty sad, but it's a board state right now for Matthew. Once again, there's Dimir Houseguard. Peter's going to go find a goblin to put into play, and it's Boggart Mob. One of the best ways this goblin deck can win quickly is by swarming with a ton of goblins, and then maybe pumping them all with a Goblin Pyromancer or one of the many Goblin Lords. So Boggart Mob is one of the best ways to go for a swarm win, especially when it has haste like right now. So in they come, and Boggart Mob makes a bunch of tokens. So it's only turn 4, and Matthew's already pretty far behind the 8-ball. That first turn Goblin Lackey can really define the game. However, Matthew does have an Oblivion Stone, and this is actually pretty bad for Peter. Despite his killer board position, that Oblivion Stone can just wreck him and take away all that card advantage. So he really needs to deal with that. There is a Goblin Vandal there who can get in with get in and destroy that. However, Matthew does have a blocker. Peter does have an answer though. If you didn't notice, he played a Strip Mine off in the corner there. That's going to keep Matthew off of a land for 1 turn, so Matthew won't be able to get to 5 mana to pop the stone. Has to block the Goblin Vandal to protect Oblivion Stone. Peter deals 15, puts a whole bunch of more goblins into play. And of course, Strip Mine is going to stop the Oblivion Stone from going off this turn. So that's a pretty crucial Strip Mine right there. Unless Matthew gets his own Ancient Tomb. And he's pretty much toast. But wait, there's hope. Yeah, Intruder Alarm can keep those goblins tapped down for a turn if Peter does not have a creature. However, Goblin Vandal comes back because of Wort's ability, and the Vandal's going to be able to untap all those creatures. So down comes the Vandal, everything untaps. And really, this is not even the fastest win that Wort can get. It can win even faster. Something like a Goblin Pyromancer, or maybe a combo with Kiki Jiki. But that's a pretty fast win right there. On to game 3 then. First turn, Aether Vial is pretty deadly for goblins. These goblins are pretty cheap, and Aether Vial gets them past counter spells. There's a Vampiric Tutor. Turn 3 play for Matthew is Extra Planar Lens. Always a risky card, but if it pays off huge. It's good with those snow-covered lands because if somebody else has islands, they don't get double. Bajuka Bog removes nothing. And this is probably the card Peter Vampiric tutored for because it's incredibly good. Goblin Recruiter. Any number of goblins, put them on top of your deck. And the reason this card is so good is because of Goblin Ringleader. And you'll see that shortly, but I'm pretty sure that's the card Peter's going to choose to put on top. So he gets about a dozen goblins there. So yeah, the Ringleader is going to basically turn this into draw 4 cards. So that's why the Recruiter is so busted. Because it can grab that Ringleader and it's just 2 to your deck for 4 goblins. However, this is a pretty good answer to it. Spin it to Myth. Obviously the Recruiter isn't that big of a deal, but the Fate Seal 2 means that that Ringleader is going to go away. And so much for that draw 4. So it was a very timely spin into Myth. However, Peter's going to try and recoup that card advantage another way. With a Mind Twist for 3. I think Matthew's already down to 4 cards in hand. However, Misdirection, that's a pretty good card to have when you're tapped out and someone's Mind Twisting you. So instead, Peter loses his hand. Another timely spell for Matthew. He seems to have all the right answers. Mouth of Ronan, yeah. I love that card. Azami comes out. She has no wizard cronies yet. Matthew's basically just drawn instants and sorceries, but it's been working out. Both generals are out. Oh, there's Mind Over Matter. This card is pretty good with Azami, just because it's an infinite combo. Yeah, she just gets to keep drawing cards until she finds the one she likes. And if you're running the right cards, then that's basically just an infinite win. Infinite combo, I mean, for an instant win. So, fast forward, Matthew finds the card he wants. Mind Over Matter even lets me untap some of those lands so that I can afford to cast Laboratory Maniac. Perfect new card for the Azami deck because it just turns the Mind Over Matter into an instant win. Matthew draws his deck and Laboratory Maniac wins. Thanks for watching.